let's see, is the stream...
Yes.
I believe the stream is up and running, which it is. So, of course, welcome to another beautiful Saturday, either afternoon or evening, wherever you might be at. Welcome to another round of LSR action. I believe we're up to round number...
13, this is...
13 now. 13?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is round
13
13.
here in Bahrain. Just 3 races, of course, left to go. Welcome to the desert of Bahrain, which, of course, the opener in in actual Formula 1, 2024 of the Formula 1 cars out of just time. But for now, we got some LSR Group 1 as well. Of course, as normal, your host, Vacant. Joined with me is James. James, how are you doing today?
I'm good, excited for Group 1's turn, as we have a full grid this time, so hopefully it gets even more chaotic than last week's race at Singapore, which was chaos by rain.
Yeah, should definitely be a very interesting track. Bahrain, definitely a love it or hate it kind of track. Plenty of high speed. Of course, if you look down, you got the four heats and 3 DRS zones, but you got really challenging technical sections as well. Those first 3 corners really important to get clean out onto the power. Of course, don't want to go into the wall in the early laps. As well as that start of Sector 2 there. Of course, you got the double left-hander of turns 9 and 10. And of course, you got this final double right that Jarul Octem is going through in that AlphaTauri, as he will be the first start. So I'm sitting on board with him. Going to be hitting top speeds of around probably 205, 206 miles an hour in qualifying. Don't know exactly what that would convert to. I believe it's around 300 odd. As Jarul, big mistake there. Quickly, you see, just Phil Traxon is out of there. As that's already 1 lap down for Jarul, as he's spun around. So I believe that puts one Aston Martins as going to be the first to complete a competitive lap. It'll be owner, but yeah, a lot of high speed straight line sections, but also plenty up in those corners. Especially if you get it wrong, especially at turn 9 and 10, you can lose loads of time.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a tricky track to master around this 1 lap. That 1 lap is going to be very intense, because you've got that downhill turn, 10, where Ozic is now 10, I'm pretty sure. You just keep locking up there, so easy to lock up there. You've also got a few of the corners where there's a Ferrari who was spun, and I believe that is Moit.
Yeah, I believe Moit Cooley is in Sector 3, but yeah, knowing how to migrate your brakes around the circuit can be very, very important, especially because, you probably need to have that little bit higher front brake bias through turns 9 and 10 to make sure that rear end doesn't step out. But also you can probably get away with a lot lower brake pressures and a lot of brake biases. Corners. Here comes owner to the line, and so the benchmark going to be a 128.2 by the Aston Martin. Dodoligo comes to the line next. That's a 129.4. Waits following them behind. He's in that AlphaTauri, a 129.1. So rather competitive there. So first couple times coming up across the board, VDV Ali with the 129.6, so probably a mistake earlier. Who's always going to be a threat at any circuit in that McLaren is going to come to the line now, and not good enough for pole as of right now. So uncharacteristic there from the McLaren to not take provisional pole early in qualifying. He's about 4 tenths down on the Aston Martin of owner.
That's very interesting to see, because Ringish is dominated from the get-go of this season, I'm pretty sure. But him not getting that lap straight away is quite interesting. So we'll see what he can do from here, as Vasil is coming to the line now, and it's going to be pole position.
It is. He's gonna. Yeah, Basil gonna steal provisional pole by 1/100th of a second there for owner. Third time coming in Hypnose in his LSR DU here. For Williams coming in P4, Jojo as well popping a lap in for P5 and is actually quickly surpassed by Oni. McLaren of Tommy XXC goes 11th fastest. English is hard.
It can be at times. Viperize and Jay are the two last people on their lap times. At the moment, Viperize coming through the final section now. Got no traffic in front of him, so it's clear track for him. Jay has that little bit of traffic, so interesting to see what.
So here comes Viperize out of the technically fine 2 corners, as I believe that's one of those weird sections where it's 2 final corners. But Viperize puts in 129 to go quick. So Red Bull's currently 1 and arguably one of the better combos for positioning early on in this session. I guess we'll jump down to JM come through the final corner now. As I believe he's the last driver who's really on a flying. He comes to the line. That lap time only good enough P12 with that traffic being a little bit of an issue for the Williams.
Now this is that time of people coming into the pits and some people getting their first laps out as QDX. I keep messing up his name sometimes, I have to really think about it. But he is starting his lap and he's the only person on a lap time now.
Yeah, Rune Jamie and Thomas D also getting set up to start laps behind the FP for you currently 16th, 17th, and 18th without times, as they should have a fairly nice, clear track out ahead of them as QDXE makes his way through Sector 1 and into the start of that kind of tight, twisty Sector 2 now. 28.6 in that first sector for the Mercedes. Check mini map down at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a couple of drivers coming out. There's both Alpha Tauris making their way out of the pits. But QDXE, of course, I believe, actually no, not followed there by Moy Cooley. But yeah, really inactive at the moment, but definitely still really surprising to see Wingish so far off compared to what he has been.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting qualifying session. He is now on the track, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. But to be, quick maths here, it's about 4/10 off. If my math is correct, and my math never really is correct at most times, but 4/10 for Wingish, and now down in 4th as QDX goes P3 with his lap time. So it's going to be a bit of a
very good lap. Yeah, good lap there from the Mercedes driver. I believe next to cross the line will be Thomas D in the Haas. But yeah, we've definitely seen Wingish continue to get quicker across a number of qualifying sessions. But this track just maybe not quite suited to his driving styles. Thomas D goes team fastest with a 1:31. Track being very busy, all 17, now 18 cars on track and getting set for laps. So eventually a good decision for guys like Gawoon Jamie and from QDX a lap in under clear track conditions. Jamie did well in that lap time, good enough for 9th, so closing up a little bit closer to his teammate. 129.305 for the Alpine. Certainly very respectable, even if it's a decent chunk off that provisional pole time.
Moy Cool is in a bit of traffic, and I do wonder if that the Haas driver just going in the way of him a little bit, but coming down to the final corner, I'm not going to say final 2 because it's really basically a straight. The final corner now to the line, DRS is now wide open, and it's really not for P5. Not that far off.
Yeah.
Wingish.
Yeah, so just a shade back there. I believe Kelly also jumped up to 15th, or Joner jumped up to 14th. Not entirely sure. Owner, meanwhile, coming up to Sector 2. Wingish, meanwhile, only slightly up through one sector. He's 10th. Or, almost 100th, rather. Of course, coming through Sector 2 now. Yellow flag. I believe that's for one of the wheels just getting out of the...
Yes.
Jump aboard with Wingish coming through Sector 2. We've seen him have a lot of in traction zones, as he's actually up 3/10 now. So that lap time very quickly as Durul for AlphaTauri goes third quickest with a 1:28.4. Just coming out of the corner now. We've seen this man on pole many times for the season, especially after the season break. Here it comes out of the line, and this doesn't will be good enough for a provisional pole. Wingish with just under 7 minutes left to go in qualifying. A little bit, but Vay's about 2/10 up in Sector 1.
You keep cutting out sometimes, they can just say. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, that might be a little bit of lag on my front, but Owner with a lap time that drops very quickly. He dropped 3/10 there, down to 1:79. Made what seems to be a mistake in that middle sector as he lost about half a second. But currently that 5 is Owner, Wingish, Vazel, Durul, and QDXC. But still plenty of time for that change. Hypnos matched his first sector, and we could see his time potentially continue to fall as he's about the last one on Jonah as well in his lap to about a 10th in his P12. Hypnos, meanwhile, through Sector 2, down on his first lap, so losing a little bit of time in that middle part of the circuit.
Yeah, Viprize just moved up to P13. Dodoligo didn't have the best lap time either. So maybe time to improve for those two drivers.
Dive into the pits. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but Hypnos chose to dive into the pits with about 5.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. And I believe that means nobody else currently on a push lap, with the exception of perhaps Dodoligo. I think with the exception of perhaps Dodoligo, everybody else will get for a set of tires to try and get an extra lap in. But Mayo pushing very hard, and of course we'll have a clear track ahead of him with 5 minutes to go in the session. And as I say that, he does go around. That's turn 11. That lap time is going to have to get scrapped. And so it'll come down to that final run. Totally. Yeah, then there are about 4.5 minutes left to go now, and a couple of drivers actually going out for out laps. Waits in AlphaTauri currently in P10 is just getting started with his lap, and QDXC not far behind him in the Mercedes. So two drivers looking to potentially get their last laps in with the clear track, just in an attempt trying to use that clear track instead of any potential track evolution that happens in those late stages of qualifying, because of course we only do the full session. Did I lose you?
No.
Oh, no, and I had to check for a second just because you were out for a little bit. But Tommy XXC, one of those few drivers who I think may have been on a push lap, he invalidated his. Waits down 5/10 on his first lap, so maybe taking a double recon kind of strategy. But QDXC, definitely interesting to see one of the top to a little bit earlier. Now come two more. That is Hypnos and Bono looking to maybe try and take advantage of those cleaner track conditions. As Waits actually made a pretty big mistake there, running wide at turn 11. But also a bunch of these drivers potentially just looking to give themselves time if they end up invalidating at any given corner, that they can just give it another two. So potentially strategy going on there. Is QDXC actually going to dive into the pit lanes for a fresh set of tires? And I believe weights will follow. Both drivers should have just enough time as the train's starting to come out of the pits, and it's going to be led by Wingish.
And John Wick retires. Don't think he thinks he can get a much quicker lap time. Tommy was quicker in the first sector, but slowing down again now, and I think he's just going to probably come into the pits. But who is going to get that first fast lap?
Yeah, Bono, I believe, is going to be the kind of first to kind of lead the charge. Of course, have a little bit of time, as we're just at about 2-minute mark in those lap times, sitting at around 1 minute and 28 seconds. So those coming out now are certainly going to have to hustle it a little bit, but I believe going to be leading the way on that front, as I believe Tommy XC now, so that might have been some of the slowdown as well. But then down quickly at about the start of the curbing there on the outside, and then really crucial to get the traction right out of turns 2 and 3. And let's see where Bono comes in as he crosses that first sector timing in just a couple seconds. Of course, coming out of that sharp turn 5 then across the second sector timing marker, up a little bit, but only margin is look to have to improve. Hills, meanwhile, currently sitting P7, slightly down on his first lap, but a lot of those gains are generally going to come in that more technical middle sector, where a lot easier to make mistakes. Wingish as well getting underway. So, Wingish going to be the first of the drivers to set their final attempts. Romeo of Bono at least be the first set of time with just about 50 seconds left to go now. And Bono actually 1.2 up on his first lap time. So that lap time rather quickly, but he's still going to need more if he wants to continue to jump up that order.
Bono 1.2 seconds up on his lap time now. So his second sector must have been really bad on his first lap. Here he comes to the line now. He goes P17, 1 second up on his lap time. Who's coming across the line next?
It's going to be Hypnose and the Williams. That's not going to be an improvement. He may have enough to get another lap in, but we shall see. 10 seconds that Alfa Romeo of who is that? I believe Ligo will be the last set of time, which means it will be Tommy XXC who will be the first to set a final lap time, and he's up 10ths through 2 sectors. Of course, that mid-pack has been real tight all through this season of Group 1. Here comes both McLarens out on a corner. Tommy XXC to the line. He goes from 18th to 18th, so nothing there. Wingish, only a slight movement. He will not start pole. QDX will start no better than 5th. Here comes the other Mercedes to the line. That's VDV Alley. He's 410th, 11th. The second Alpha Terry going to be next to the line. That is Jarul. Owner retired. He doesn't think he'll be able to improve that provisional pole. Can Jarul take the challenge to them to the line? It's good enough for P3 at the moment. So behind, yes, it's going to be an Alpine to the line next. I believe Jojo, who's going to dive into the pits, he'll start 9th. The Red Bull of Basel will take P4. Jordan jumps to P11. His teammate of Thomas now to the line, about matching his first 2 sector times. He'll start P19. And I believe only a couple of drivers still on flying lap. James Williams diving into the pits. Dodo Ligo up a little bit. There's, of course, a crash for the track. Dodo Ligo to the line. He'll start P11. And Moy Cooley is going to dive into the pits. So there is your starting order for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Owner steals pole position away from Wingish, and it's going to be followed by Jarul, Vazel, QDXC, Hypno, Jamie, Oni, and Jojo, rounding out your top 10.
Very, very strange qualifying from Wingish, but I wonder if he has a better race package. But at the moment, the Aston Martin looks to be on top, and we'll see if he can stay on top throughout this race.
Of course, plenty of race left to go, but it is owner by a 1/10.5 over Wingish here in qualifying. And as you go down the order, it only gets tighter. Looking at P8 down to P than 210, as well as down to with the top 11 separated by just over seconds. So it should be plenty of good. I believe it's 28 laps around Bahrain. Of course, we'll have a brief little intermission here as drivers load into the race session and get their setups, get their strategy. So I'll go below and hit that like button. I've done so already. Very much appreciated. And of course, we'll be starting up Season 7 in just a short time, so definitely subscribe so you can stay tuned for both the end of Season 6 here for Group 1 and Group 2, which are live streaming, as well as 3, as well for when Season 7 starts. So, of course, shouldn't be too long here, but it'll definitely be interesting to see what tire choices everybody goes with, especially with how chaotic Turn 1 around Bahrain can get, especially in an online, in an online race. Alright. Hopefully shouldn't be too much longer here. Of course, waiting for the countdown sound effect.
Okay.
Never mind, I didn't get it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights. Or not 5 lights, maybe. And we are underway here in Bahrain. Seems a good getaway for the owner, who's going to immediately. Great. That's a Alfa Romeo of Dodoligo, who's going nowhere. He's just not ready. Derul looking outside of Wingish down on this peen running wide, but Wingish going to be owner retaining the lead out of turn 1. Dodoligo is going to get disqualified as he potentially just walked away or disconnected, but owner leads the way here on lap 1, and the Ferrari's going side by side in that mid sector.
Side by side through this sector hasn't always worked out in the past with F1, and we've seen that happen a few times, and it didn't pan out too well. Alpine, there's a Mercedes spinning around, and I believe that's VDV. Yeah, VDV has spun around. I want to find out what happened to Dodoligo, but
yes, didn't think to lose a driver before turn 1 as a couple of drivers slopping throughout the year. Most drivers opting for hards or mediums. Going mediums, Diesel going hards, and we saw that we're in a much better spot as Jojo out of the race already. That was down at turn. That Alpine spun out. I don't know exactly what happened there, but it seems that this race is going to continue. But cars out of the race.
So Wingish now up into P2. Well, no, he stays in P2. Duel having the worst of those lots at the moment, but Vazel and QDX having a fight. Vazel up into P3 ahead of the Mercedes. We've seen this fight Mercedes versus Red Bull a few times.
Looking down inside here, is he going to be able to make it stick on the edge? They're going to remain side by side as they make their way into turn 6. And I think that Red Bull of Vazel got tagged from behind. That might have been Oni just not checking up enough. To the back, and Vazel going to drop right down the order. Definitely disappointing for the Red Bull.
Very disappointing, and I think you are correct. It was the Ferrari of Omnis just touching the back end of Vazel, and he just lost control of that car.
But yeah, already kind of quickly a 2-horse race up at the front between Wingish and owner. Of course, no DRS active yet. But that McLaren all over the back end of that Aston Martin. That gap less than a quarter of a second now. DRS will be activated this lap. So turn 3, English will have that edge over the Aston Martin, can potentially take the lead of this race. But we'll see if he even decides to wait that long as they come on the pit straight.
Yeah, Winglish fastest lap time. He is on the quicker tyres, on the mediums. He's going for it. He's not going to wait for that DRS line. I think he just got past before that DRS line, so Owner should technically have it,
which he does.
Have it.
That rear wing. No, that rear wing did open on the Aston Martin, but that's not going to be enough pace still in order to catch up to the back of that McLaren. As Owner's rear wing did open up there, but still behind. Now that's going to give Wingish potentially a chance to pull away. Of course, Owner, really to stay in the DRS range. That gap already opened up to about even a half tenths. Meanwhile, behind the battle for P3, it is really Mercedes, both Ferraris here. As PDXE having from both charging Ferraris, they look to make their way past. And of course, both drivers there with DRS advantage as well.
This is going to be an interesting fight. Two Ferrari drivers versus one Mercedes. We'll see if there's going to be some team play. Mercedes are on the medium strategy, so it's going to be interesting. But they also have one of the Ferraris on the mediums, so I do wonder if Mikes will just maybe let Omnij pass him to be on that quicker tyre to maybe have that attack chance higher, and Omnij is closer to his teammate. There he goes.
Owner, meanwhile, taking lead the turn 1, a little bit further behind. Wade's actually losing 2 positions down that pit straight, largely due to DRS as Ogas and Jamie got past him. There's a big battle going on for P6 at the moment. The AlphaTauri looking to make the move back on Jamie for P7, but is going to have to settle for the moment. But once again, we do have a lead change off as Owner retakes the lead here on lap number 4.
Didn't even notice that one with the battle of the Ferraris, but yeah, Owner seems to be quick enough to fight off the pace of Wingish for the first time in a while. Wingish is not on pole at the moment.
Yeah, and of course we've seen, we saw well before guys like Owner and Ogas really both had their debut in LSR. Muy coolly that could take the fight to Wingish, especially in those race conditions. Wingish just was really dominant during qualifying, and despite starting P2, it's still definitely pretty far from the norm to see that McLaren not start in that front position. But here comes the McLaren of Wingish. I don't see the rear wing open, so a little bit of DRS chicken potentially going on from the McLaren. Yellow flag in sector 3, that's for a spun AlphaTauri. That is Derul, I believe, out of the final corner, so maybe attacking that curb a little bit too hard there. Of course, that's going to be really disappointing the AlphaTauri, who's going to have cover. Owner, meanwhile, into turn 4, is going to be able to bend from Wingish for a moment. So it's still the Aston Martin, it's still, Mercedes, and then both Ferraris.
I don't think it's me, but they are not using their DRS. Well, Wingish wasn't using that DRS down those 2 straights. I don't know if that's just a strategy he's doing, but very interesting to see that he's not using that DRS. But he is now.
So potentially some strategy going on from Wingish. Certainly a potential there. That he is just trying to play a little bit of a longer game, trying to make sure that those medium tires can last through the entire stint. Maybe make Owner take some defensive lines that he otherwise wouldn't be taking, and potentially just try and get the advantage with the undercut.
Sorry, just to say, 2 wide at the moment. Tommy and Thomas D going through sector 2. Almost going 3 wide with Bono as well, but this fight is getting quite heated up now. I think this is like six almost cars getting into this fight for P12.
Meanwhile, down through turn 1 again, it's own defending. That gap already opening up to 4/10. Good exit there. Here comes Fish, though. Again, not going to open up DRS. So, definitely be interested to see what's going on in the McLaren's head right now. So he's electing not to use DRS. Meanwhile, Waits has jumped up into P7, and there's a nice three-way battle going for that position. That's also allowed Over to pull away for a little bit.
So
of course, on those.
It was just a bit of contact between Bono and Thomas D. Bono losing out, now down in 15th, but this battle is getting very nice here. Vasil now up into P13.
Vasil as well. He's up. Vasil's in the P4, but he's missing the right front wing plate on that bull. So potentially due to some contact at different points in the race, that's going to have to get fixed. And it's on those hard compound tires. You can definitely manage that if you work with your brake enough, but that Red Bull definitely going to be in an opportune position for a large portion of this race with that damage.
Yeah, that Red Bull is going to be so much slower. As you can already see Bono just getting onto the back end of that Red Bull so much quicker than he would like. And I think Bono is going to just breeze past this Red Bull, because that losing a bit of your front wing is really hurtful in these corners, and Bahrain can mostly be mainly about the corners.
Yeah, of course, very important, especially in those slower speed corners. 1-2 is really
there's even more
puts a lot of
contact
stress on that
between
front
Bono
wing.
and Vasil now. Bono just, I think he'd locked up too much, hitting the back end of Vasil.
Yeah, so and of course all those drivers not really fighting for points at the moment, as they're kind of back in 12th. So of course they're going to want to particularly try and look to work together a little bit better and try and close that gap to the front a little bit. Meanwhile, up at the front, Owner starting to pull a gap as Wingish actually uncharacteristic mistake there. That was at turns 9 and 10. He actually made a mistake there. I think it was under power, just lighting up those rear. They're on fire for Wingish, it seems.
Yeah, he had a huge, another huge slip there, but I don't know what's happened to the McLaren, as now the Ferrari driver is within 9/10. So this could get very interesting very quickly with Omnij, QDX and Moit Cool and the Aston Martin.
Of course, there's 4 drivers now who have that opportunity to try to start hunting Wingish down, and of course that's becoming a now 5-way battle for P2. Woon Jamie down that pit straight, able to get past Waits, who's going to actually try to dive it back up inside at turn 1. Doesn't seem like that move's going to be able to stick. Maybe a little bit ambitious from the AlphaTauri as well, who's now going to be under threat from Hypnos. Looks like they're going to go side by side, and they seemingly get through okay, but actually Waits able to make a nice cut back up the inside down at turn number 5, so he's able to defend for the moment. The AlphaTauri running fairly nicely, able to be struggling a little bit with some ERS.
Vipers up into P10, as we saw in the background, getting past the Haas driver, so Red Bull back into the points, only 1 point, but still any point counts at this point of time as we get closer to the end of the season.
Yeah, and of course, and still plenty of racing left to go. We're only on lap number 8. But yeah, that gap, definitely something to keep in mind as well, with that gap between Wingish and Owner. Currently sitting at about 1.9 seconds. But we've seen Owner potentially having just a little bit more of an advantage in straight line speed. Owner got a really good exit out of that final corner, and starting lap number 9, that gap out of 2 seconds. But we can keep pushing. Oni, QDXC, Moikley, and Ogas all trying to hunt him down.
Yeah, this is literally everybody hunting down the championship leader, which could get very interesting. because these guys want to beat this guy. So, and if they can try and make that gap, they're probably going to go for that gap.
Waits as well, able to jump back up to P7, so that Alpha Tower is seeming really blisteringly quick in a straight line. So that battle going well. Oga's, meanwhile, getting past Maruli in that very difficult Sector 2, where it's, very difficult to get that passed on. So definitely a good move there from the Aston Martin. Those soft tires probably starting to run out of their edge a little bit. And, Maruli's hards only get better, relatively at least, as this stint continues.
Yeah, this stint is very interesting, to say the least, because we've already had one driver get those tyres so heated up that they're just losing that time to the driver in front. But as we've seen Wingish lose it in a few places at the moment, but seems to be okay for now. Just having to keep an eye on him for now. But again, 7 attempts. Oh, he's made a mistake because he's now gone to 3 attempts from 7.
Yeah, so I think, potentially Wingish is not super comfortable out of that final corner. We saw that gap really start to drop from owner, but it's on the exit. Rooms to be able to really nicely and comfortably pull away from the McLaren specifically at the final 2 corners, and then get behind me now down to 4 tenths. Of course, just using all of that back on his left-hand side, and Basil is going to actually be the first into the pits.
Oh, Omni's just passed Wingish, and QDX is trying to make a move down on the inside of Wingish. Going to be on the outside for turn 10. He's just going to back out of that one. I don't think that move was going to get done anywhere around there. But Wingish having a terrible part.
Yeah, so we see an pass in Sector 2 there, so potentially a mistake from Wingish as that gap has grown 8 tenths of a second from about half a lap ago. And of course now he's under pressure and really in the middle of this pack. So I've the advantage of DRS down the pit street, but QDXC still right on him.
He really doesn't seem happy
back, and that will be
in those corners. Just watching on from QDX's on board, he doesn't seem happy at all to be trying to get that power down as they both come into the pits.
Yeah, so early pit stops from Oni and Wingish as they're looking to get off of those mediums, thinking those tires are done. I definitely assume that they're opting for the hard compound tire, as that is going to be the case for both. So Oni and Wingish potentially looking to make that undercut work. And of course, they should come out in fairly clean air, at least compared to that 5-car fight that they were involved in. But of course, come out behind the majority pack, and of course Wilson tied very tightly together.
Five trying to get past Jonah again around turn 5. I'm pretty sure this is. Again, Sector 2, not the greatest part to start going too wide, but Five just backing out of that one for now. He's gonna have a look, but just can't make it happen.
Peak. Yeah, of course, they a little bit loose there in turn 5. Definitely didn't seem to be any serious contact. Just putting Vipers off a little bit. As Viper is actually closing up really quickly there. I think potentially looking at the way time than Jonah taken. And is going to have to bag that as all an incident there. But up at the front, that gap up to 3.7 seconds now. As QXC speeds away from Oga's and Moikli. Og, definitely surprising to still see him on those soft. Of course, a little bit of on. So potentially be seeing a soft to medium from the Aston Martin.
It's very interesting indeed, because these soft tyres, they seem to not last as long as the mediums, but they're lasting as long as the mediums here, because we've already seen, well, 2 people pit early, and I don't think they probably should have, because right now we still see the mediums go on for that much longer as Ogs gets past them.
With a nice move around the outside. Yeah, nice move there around the outside from Ogas. Meanwhile, there's about for at least P6 on track right now as Waits and Jamie go side by side. Goon JB still able to make that move stick. I think defending rather aggressively there. Really looking to hold on to those positions as Vasil sets a new fastest lap of the race at 1:30.6, and of course he's down there in P17 still. Is a fair way off the back of that pack, so still a long way back up to try and climb for that Red Bull.
This pack for Omnij and Wingish really is not helping them because they're still behind. Wingish trying to follow the Ferrari around the outside of Jay, does get it done. Nice move from the both of them, but this is not helping them at all. They are getting past.
Yeah, of course they're going to be. Yeah, they're starting to navigate all these cars that haven't pitted quite yet. Of course, different tire conditions, and of course the drivers not wanting to give up any time themselves. You can see Thomas D. Really force Wingish a little bit wide there. The McLaren is going to get through. But of course, any time lost is not going to be good for these two drivers, as they're going to, have to defend these old hard compound tires for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and it all comes in play if there's going to be a safety car. And a safety car in this can be whenever. Wingish, is he going to have a look down the inside on Omnij? No, he's not.
Now going to back out. So the McLaren are really looking to work together a little bit, not fight too hard at this stage. Of course, it is lap 13. And of course, Wingish's teammate of Tommy XXC just up the road. Tommy dives into the flame for the hard compound of tires. And he'll come out behind that group of Ball Diesel. Actually, will come out in that fight. He'll come out just behind Vasil.
This will be interesting. Two McLarens versus a Ferrari. As Tommy is going to go defensive on the Ferrari driver, just goes a bit too deep and leaves the door open for the Ferrari driver. Just makes it so much easier for him, but Wingish still behind, but Tommy just falls back behind his teammate, so not much of a help, but still Omnij and Wingish.
So definitely be a team effort there from Tom to try and allow his teammate to take position, but just not quite able to make it work. Meanwhile, it seems like Hyperize and Joe continuing lap number 14 as they look to end. Garoon Jamie going to try to dive into the pits. He gets a 5-second speeding though, so the Alpine going to have that lap that added to the end of his race. Joner going to dive into the pits for a set of hard compound tires. So a couple of drivers looking to dive into the pits. One of the drivers who hasn't is Ogas Yegin, who's still out on those soft compound tires. Of course, the kind of tire wear profile. Sorry.
I was going to say he is a madman staying on those tires, but I'm also trying to look at the time lost in the pit lane, and I'm guessing it's around 22. But right now, Omnij and Wingish is going to probably be behind Moix and QDX, so that's not probably their game right now, because if they're going to be behind, that's even more places lost.
Yeah, I mean, if that gap is sitting at around the 22-23 second mark, that would mean if Owner pits now, that Oni and Wingy would like to lead this race, but it would be close on pit lane exit, as they currently sit about 22.8 seconds back, as diving into the pit lane, and we got three drivers all diving in. It's Ogas, QDXC, and Moikuli, all looking to stop here on lap number 15.
Here it is then. Gonna see where Wingish and Omnij come out here, as they all three of them leave their pit boxes now. They're going past them, so it's actually worked out better for the two, as Wingish gets by the Ferrari driver now.
Yeah, and of course, Waits also electing to dive in there. Viperize and Hypnose both going to stay out on those hards. Of course, Wingish and Oni gaining about at least a brief back marker into Tommy Ogas, we are looking at a soft to medium stint from that Aston Martin. So, of course, that'll be very, as he goes side by side with Tommy XXC's McLaren, a little bit of contact there, as I think that Aston Martin tried to cut across. Tommy XXC bending here, so potentially is trying to buy his mate as many seconds as he can now. So it seems to be a bit of a team game. McLaren, Aston Martin looking to go around the outside at turn number 9 and 10, and he will get it. But as Tommy XXC done enough, as Oni and Wingish both get past Viperize on those much newer compounded tires.
So they have lost about 4 seconds since they did not pit at the exact same time. So that's quite interesting to see as our race leader finally comes into the pits. He will be on the quicker tyre though.
Interesting. So. Yeah, this course will be very interesting. Of course, he is going to opt for the medium compound. There's going to be a pit stop there, as Hypno's as well looking to dive in. So it will be Wingish and Oni ready to try and race down the pit lane. And they catch Aston Martin. Here he is coming out of the pit lane now. And I believe it will be Wingish rarely taking the lead around the outside of the Aston Martin, and Owner at least fall down to P3 for the moment. But Wingish is going to take the lead here, but is going to be at a bit of a disadvantage here. And here comes Owner, and it's a three-way fight for the lead. The Ferrari potentially looking down the inside, but not quite having the move on as it stands. It's Wingish, Oni, and battling for the lead here on lap number 10.
Yeah, Wingish and Omnij making that great call of pitting earlier and to regain the lead of the race for Wingish. So very interesting call from the McLaren driver, and it worked out to my great surprise.
Yeah, of course, still a lot of racing left to go, and those medium going to be right in the spot where Owner will be very quickly. But of course, we saw from Wingish that tire advantage might not mean everything. Of course, the sun continues to set here. Track temperatures right for Owner to push that little bit more without pushing over the edge and keep those tires from overheating. But as we saw from Wingish, it could very well happen. As here comes Owner actually down the inside. He wants to get this done before the pit straight. Ferrari and Martin going wheel to wheel, and only able to defend for the moment. As here they come down the pit straight. We got 2/10. Owner going to dive to the end. Actually looking to box Oni in a little bit. 3 cars all within about 1/10 of a second of each other. Wingish is going to retain lead for now. Who wasn't going to go for P2? It's Aston Martin looking around the inside. Going to go down the inside. 3 wide for the lead. Wingish in the middle. Owner on the very inside. Oni looking all the way to the outside. He's going to try to sweep it outside. And it's going to be Oni taking the lead on lap number 17 with making that 3 wide work to his advantage. Now it's the Ferrari leading the way.
So Wingish not having the greatest of races at the moment. He is not having fun with this track at the moment, as Ono trying to look down the outside of turn 9-10. Not able to make it happen, and here comes Orgs, the other Aston Martin. So 2 Aston Martins versus everybody else.
Oni has DRS. Oni got DRS there. Owner took the lead at direction, so Oni able to defend with DRS, and the Owner not having it means they move back up into P2.
Very good play from the Ferrari driver, and I think there was a bit of contact with the Aston Martin and McLaren as Wingish just went very wide through that corner. But here we go again, everybody with DRS but the Ferrari driver, Wingish, just falling back a little bit more. Owner making that move happen, and is Wingish going to have
Wingish down the outside of Oni is going to be cut across and take P2, but Owner able to now take the lead on those fresh medium tires. Is this going to be a chance to now run away as those mediums in a much better condition than both Wingish and Oni? And of course, Oga is right there in the background in this 4-car fight. And definitely don't count out QC or Mukuli either, down there in P5 and P6, who are all in this fight for the lead.
Yeah, it's getting very, very spicy at the front again, as Onar is just pulling away slightly. It's now 8/10 well, 9 tenths to the McLaren driver, as he's on that quicker tyre, so you would expect him to be that little bit quicker. But Wingish to be here in this situation is not like him, as he huge slide. That was worse than the ones we've seen, I think.
Yeah, massive slide there from Wing. So yeah, this track just really not working as he wants it to. Those rear tires seemingly on fire. Oga's actually the biggest winner, and we're almost 3 wide once again. This was the final corner. But the McLaren going to look around the outside there. Seemingly all right, a couple of twitches, and now it's a full P2. The Ogas with DRS advantage here, and Wingish actually out of us now. Both his and Oni's red light tail those cars. Wingish gonna look down inside, and there's contact.
He was way too ambitious to go down the inside like that. He tried it. I mean, it just was not gonna work out because he was not quick enough. But QDX now trying to make a move on the inside of Omnij, and Omnij just defending perfectly there to keep his P2, but
he's not. He's gonna lose the back end there out of, what is that, I believe turn number 8, and Oni quickly around. QDXC is round 2. I'm not sure what's due to the contact or not, but just as quickly as they were able to show up and join this fight, both Oni and QDXC back down into P5 and 6, of course, are going to be right back to battling each other.
I think Wingish has... I don't know what is going on with Wingish, but I think... I don't know what he is doing. Okay, what's just happened there?
What is going on there?
I'm not the only one seeing that, right?
No, you're not. I'm not sure exactly what happened there with Wing. We're definitely going to need something of an explanation for that, as that was very odd. Moy Cooley actually diving in the pit lane here, as
he's got damage. As
Wingish with a 5-second speeding in the pit lane, and he is going to retire. I think we are going to need footage from that incident from the McLaren, as that was very questionable. But Wingish out of this race, and potentially has ruined Oni's as well, as that Ferrari was running very, very well, and I think is also now struggling with a lack of a front wing. Is a big lock up there, as we'll probably see Oni out of the race as well.
Yeah, very, very confusing to see what happened there. 5-second time penalty, and he does retire. So very interesting to see what happened there. Whatever just happened, but I'll keep looking on the Discord to see if anything gets put out, but right now, Aston Martin are the biggest winners.
Yeah, and of course it's another race where both Aston Martin and Vettel, of course, still plenty of, still gonna have to be stewards, decisions on that front. But of course, all the kind of with those cars to start to pull away up at front.
Yeah, it's now Aston Martin's race to lose, as we are now on lap 21. So this should well be a clean, easy slate for the Aston Martin drivers, but sad to see the Ferrari drivers and McLaren retire from the race after that really confusing lap.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of explaining it. It's a three-way battle now for P4 going on. So, I was trying to get an explanation there for what happened.
As the only other Ferrari driver, Moik, gets past Bono for P12, you're going to have to get some pace in that Ferrari to get back up into the points and get some great points for Ferrari, but
yeah, certainly very interesting there. But yeah, still working on getting explanation as to exactly what happened. But of course, that biggest battle on track now is that battle for P4. Was with that edge right now, and of course, Turbo and Jamie with a 5-second advantage. Or disadvantage, rather. And of course, right there in the background.
That would really be helping win Jamie, but I don't think he'll be happy with that. But Viprise and Jonah have been going at it since lap 1, and he's still trying to get past this Ash driver, and I think it's been proven difficulty as John Wick gets past Wayne Jamie, and Viprise again making a move down the inside of Jonah.
Yeah, of course, Viprise and Jonah have really been going at it for most of the race, and Viprise actually still with DR advantage. Jonah still closing, so I think burning a lot of ERS there, and of course Viprise out of ERS as well. But of course they're still fighting through there.
Maybe Jamie's tyres have started to go off, or they're just not as good as the people in front of him, because he has lost time and he has been overtaken this lap, so I do wonder if he's got those few little problems. But we'd have to keep an eye on him, as he does have that 5-second time penalty anyway.
Still plenty of racing left to go, but it is the Aston Martins, both with second gas to each other, and then QDXC kind of also on his own, up in P3. Of course, we did see Moy Cooley dive into the pits for a fresh set of tires. It seemed that he had some damage, or potentially those tires just not working out.
Jamie getting past John Wick again, so that is now P5 again for the Alpine driver. Jonah doesn't seem to be on the attack this lap, but there's always the next, but he's being attacked by Vazel.
Of course, Vazel and Jarul both kind of caught up earlier and have been able to recover into the points. And of course, now going to be fighting for more. Both Red Bulls tied together in this. Hypnos, meanwhile, up before, been able to make a little bit of a get through. Who, just in the same way we've seen Viperize and Jonah go at it, Jamie and Waits have been going hammer and tongs at the same time.
Yeah, there's been very close battles at the moment as Jay gets past Thomas D in Sector 2. As I'm watching this battle with Jonah and Vazel, as Omnich has left the session, sadly, for him.
And of course, if we figure out what happened there, we'll certainly let you know. But of course, our information a little bit limited at the moment. But Viperize is starting to make a little bit of a get on Jonah. Of course, Vazel putting that Haas under a ladder, and that's to his teammate, which has allowed this get to open. But of course, maybe a little bit of a DRS train starting to form as well. As that rear wing going to open up on Haas here on lap number 24. Waits able to get past Jamie. Here comes Jonah. Gap closing to about 0.3 of a second. Actually, our first driver of the day with a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Of course, 6 to go now. And of course, this pack making their way forward into Sector 2. It is Viperize still at that 6/10 gap, so those fresh or medium tires potentially really working to his advantage. And of course, Vazel and Jarul's mediums much older than Jonah, but that Red Bull still, trying to fight and find a way through on attack. And I think really trying to break that gap. A bit of a rear lock there from Jonah down through turns 9 and 10. And is that going to be the opportunity that Vazel needed? Of course, Jonah still with DRS, so able to keep the Red Bull behind. But of course, still a couple of chances left to go for Vazel in this race.
Yeah, Vazel.
And of course,
He really wants to get past so he can get some more points, but those mediums aren't exactly helping him.
Yeah, Jamie is, going to be one of those drivers that really hopes that continues to heat back up. Jonah can, potentially give a little bit of more of a fight to Viperize. As it currently stands, he's down P9 or P10's battle with Viperize. It's not really for P7, it's more for P6 because of that 5-second time penalty for Jamie. Of course, he's going to work to try and pull away from that pack behind him.
Vaisel really not able to pull that gap down with DRS and DLS and being on the medium, so really is having a harder time trying to get past the Haas driver.
And of course, 4 seconds kind of behind is the gap. Currently that would fall in between Vaisel and Drew. So definitely keep an eye on that in these final 5 laps. Meanwhile, for the most part, seems to have been good races from none of the drivers. Of course, the Aston Martins both definitely seeming to be, the luckiest to kind of staying out of it. No time in that strategy exactly right to make it work. So definitely good from him. And of course, Oga's coming out okay after all that carnage we saw just after the pit stop phase. QDXC also with very good races, running those front packs for a while now. Now that gap to the cars in front broken, and of course did get caught up in incident here and there. He currently is still on the podium, which is good to see. And then Hypnos as well, performing very well in his debut in that Williams. Jamie finds his way past Waits, but yeah, Hypnos doing very well in debut for Williams. And of course, definitely taking a quick look at some of the position changes. It's Oak, almost dunk for driver of the day, of course, because he started at the back of the field. He started 20th and climbed the way up into second.
Very good come back from him as Moix is on the back end of Vaisel, and I believe Moix is going to have a much easier time trying to get by. Let's see, we go in the DRS zone. Soft versus mediums, and you can already tell some difference, but he's not going to have a look. Well, he's going to have a look, he just isn't going to be able to make that move stick yet.
And Olga's actually diving into the pits. He's going to retire?
What? Okay, this race gets weirder and weirder.
Very odd. Yeah, I don't know what the decision driver are making. Moy Cooley with a 3-second time penalty, but that of course promotes QDXC and Hypnos both up a place each. But of course we'll have to see here. But yeah, good races there. Certainly very confusing there. Definitely going to be looked at, and we'll see what happens there. But that's certainly an interesting decision.
Very interesting.
From that Aston Martin.
That's put Hypnos on a debut podium at the moment. If it stays like this, which would be a very good debut race for Hypnos. Is it? I'm guessing it's his debut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is his it's his first race here in LSR, and of course, coming away with a pole in Group 1, even considering the circumstances are certainly a little bit odd, would definitely be a great result for him. Meanwhile, a little bit further, Moikuli has actually managed to work his way back up into P8 on those softs, and he's actually going to give the fight now to Jonah. He's looking to continue to climb up the order. Of course, he does have a 3-second time penalty. Of course, we'll have to see how that continues. course, here he comes down the pit straight. We've seen Jonah be able to defend with a lack of DS. Just be able to defend in general. He's actually going to make a move on Viperize, and that move is going to go on the Haas back up into P6. Viperize a little bit loose, maybe got tagged a little bit down at the exit of turn 1, but he's going to have a chance now to fight back at the Haas, and that's quickly around. Moikuli goes round at the exit of turn 3, so that Ferrari just not being comfortable enough on the power and is going to lose the back end.
And yeah, this race gets weirder and weirder by the laps. As Moikuli's not, I want to say they had a great start, but just not having the greatest second half to the race. Viperize as well, having to fight off Jonah once again, as that battle keeps going on for P6.
Yeah, so that, battle is going to continue. Of course, there's a battle for at least P4 on track as Waits and Jamie continue to go at it. And of course, again, that battle for P6, which, really effectively P5, yellow flag in Sector 1, that's for the McLaren of Tommy XC, who made a mistake there. So I think a similar incident to what we saw happen to Moikuli, but just hasn't really been Tommy's day. Just really struggled. And I don't know if any drivers struggling with fuel. Going to take a look through and see if there are any drivers that could potentially be at risk of running out of fuel as we do start the final here. Actually, on the final lap here. Are able to kind of run away fairly comfortably. Viper is now actually having to defend from Darul and his teammate. He's going to run wide there, and the Alpha Tauri having to do the same.
Is this the chance Vasil gets? It may be his final chance, but Vasil trying to go around the outside. He's going to stay too wide through Sector 2, and he's going to get it done like in Sector 2.
Great move with Vasil, and that could have opened a little bit of contact there between Jonah and Viperize as they constantly team up there through turn number 8. Vasil up into P6, but he could allow his teammate to make the move, but Owen out of the final corner is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix for Aston Martin. So another win for him. QDXC, meanwhile, is going to look to come home to finish in second for Mercedes as he's coming up to the final corner now. Of course, dominant win for Owner. The Mercedes through the final corner now. Hypnose on debut is going to finish on. She does have a corner left to go, but he will finish on the podium for Williams. So a great debut from him. Garoon Jamie will beat Waits to the line on track, but will get that 5 seconds with Waits P almost 3 wide to the line, and Jordan winning it out for P5. Vasil 6, Viperize, Darul, and then Jamie, and VI out points in the top 10.
Have a look at that gap between Jonah, Vasil, and Viperize. 0.1 to Vasil, 0.048 to Viperize. Very, very close. Right to the wire.
Yeah, so very, very tight. And of course, definitely plenty of interesting points as Viperize, recipient of Driver of the Day. But certainly an interesting race is definitely an interesting way of putting it. And just as interesting of a podium as Owner on the top step. But of course, got QDXC and the debutante right with them. So certainly good results there. And so we'll be walking away with 25 points, followed by QDXC and Hypnose. Waits comes home in 4th, followed by Jonah with another great result for Haas, as he's been rather consistently able to score some really solid points for the Haas team. Then it's the Red Bulls of Vasil and Viperize. Vasil also walking away with that extra point for followed by Darul, Jamie, and Ali as your top 10. So a lot of close racing here, and certainly some needed to be looked at, but certainly an interesting race. James, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was a very, very interesting race. Very interesting with how everybody DNF'd like that, but we will find out soon enough. And if you are in the Discord, we will probably tell you on there when we do find out, and if we do.
Yeah, of course, have a rest of your day wherever you are at. Of course, be sure to tune in tomorrow for Group 2 action, which should be certainly close to as eventful. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. And as always, see you next time. Have a good one.